So as promised, there's going to be some kinks that I got to get out of here, you guys. I'm going to be using this new program that I got here where I'm going to be doing analysis live on some of these videos and kind of going through it. So you're going to see me, stop and go and stop and go, and get certain information. So as promised, we're going to do analysis on Wallens Ridge.
Wallens Ridge. They decided that he needs the royal treatment. Send him up the creek. Take him up the mountain. And from there, I seen the worst of treatment.
Now, it sounds like this brother's from Louisiana. I'm not exactly sure. But as you know, in a lot of prison systems that try to make a bunch of money, what they will ship prisoners from all these different places. I really want y'all to see all these small little dog whistles that you're going to see in a minute.
This all-white administration, maybe 10% black officers. Now, could you imagine you, Mr. Nick, as a white man, a white American, no real understanding of how to deal with black people with compassion, if you will, on a whole level. There's no black mercy, no black sympathy. It's up in the mountains. It's secluded, it's nothing. Down lowland, you may get a visit, but no visit unless your people fly a plane. You live in the valley of the shadow of death under fear. Tactics. Tactics is what they say they use. This is unfounded. This is the language they like to use for complaints and grievances. Well, we look into the matter and it's unfounded. That's when I start getting turned down for parole. He has a big mouth. He's even out now talking on the TV or talking to people. Why don't he keep his mouth shut? I couldn't do it in prison, and I won't do it out here. Anywhere I see abuses and misjustice, I have to do what the God has blessed me to do, and then speak against it. They say there was something wrong there. There was always something wrong.
Now, keep in mind, this is a documentary I wish I would have seen. I happened to be kind of going through a lot of different articles and things of that nature. And when I heard it, to give a little background on Up the Ridge, I believe it's a nonprofit in Virginia that broke this down. And this came out, I believe this came out in 2003. Maybe even a little bit later. But we'll get into some more background about it as we go along. And there's going to be some other things I'm going to play on YouTube that kind of backs up what he's saying about this plantation industrial complex. Fair use, YouTube. Fair use.
What I really enjoy most is watching the crops grow and watching the animals grow. The spring of the year is probably my favorite time of year. You plant new crops and, they're emerging through the soil. And you go back, a week later, look at them, they're 3 or 4 inches tall. And that's a good time of year, spring of the year.
Why do you think they put the prison here?
Well, that's kind of a hard question. I prefer to see corn or wheat growing over there, or tobacco, cows. It's not really going to do anything for our community.
Now, you heard what the old man said. He said it's really not going to do anything. Now, wait how he breaks that down. Or what this is going to blow your mind. You notice they got them little clips. Now, this is Virginia now. Now, notice they got those little clips drums. They got them Neptune's drums. I don't know if y'all noticed that. I don't know if y'all noticed.
Dam, which is headquartered in Big Stone Gap, at one time worked 5,000 people. That got down to, in the early 90s, about 700. And then in the snap of a finger, they closed, which means those jobs disappeared immediately overnight. And that had a devastating effect on this town, Coal Town, as well as the surrounding communities. If anybody's going to be picky about what jobs you get, when you're hungry, honey, you'll take a job. I mean, I don't know of anybody or any part of the country could say, well, we're not going to take this kind of job, we're not going to take that kind of job. That'd be, times change. We weren't going to have a prison here because there was no money. It came to me, why don't we build it and rent it to the state? It was kind of wild.
Did you hear that? He said, why don't we build it and rent it to the state? Now watch how they start breaking this down. It starts getting more and more sinister as you go along.
But oddly enough, when we ran it by the state, they thought it sounded pretty good. So within 3 weeks, they had legislation on the floor of the House, and it passed overwhelmingly, giving us the authority to build this prison.
As far as the input from the community, we had very little, maybe 1 or 2 people that had questions about putting a prison up there. We were going to get those jobs.
When the prison officials looked at it, we stood on top of the mountain. They went, "You're kidding, aren't you?" "No, I'm not." But as all of us who live in the coal fields know, we can flatten a mountain in no time. We know how to do that.
Now look at this picture. Now y'all got to understand, and you're going to start seeing some very strange, some statements from this dude alongside the documentary as we go along. Race soldiers realize this. Yeah, we might be on the lower rungs of society. We may be in backwoods America where we ain't got no money, but damn it, if we have to stomp down on some foundationals, we will do it. Now, just look at this scene here.
That work was something like $14–15 million just to develop the site. And
$14 to $15 million to develop the site. It almost looks like a UFO up there. Look how far you're away. And it's going to get worse.
We would get the road up there. So that's just a site. We called for a general meeting of the community. Of course, when the people from the State Department got here from the Department of Corrections, they said, "Oh no," because they had been to places to put a prison where they'd actually been threatened by guns. Don't come to our community. And to put it mildly, this was a cheerleading outfit they came to.
It was like a pep rally.
They couldn't wait to get it there. And I could understand from an economic standpoint, but just look at where you're at. You're desolate. You're literally.
It was like, and then they wanted to see if there were any questions from the community. And so a couple of people got up and they were all singing the praises. And of course, you're getting less wanting to say anything because it was really a pep rally. That's all it was. Well, I did get up, and I can't remember I just raised a question. And it was like, it was almost like the booing and the crowd. It was just, I never felt so, first of all, I never felt so alone. The herd mentality of that everything that they said was absolute truth. And everything that was going to be happening in our community was going to be wonderful.
So she's basically, she just asked a quick question. She asked one basic question. And I want y'all to think about this. I want y'all to see this real quick so we can just break it down. I want y'all to see this in plain time as we break this down. This is Big Stone Gap, Virginia. All right. So now, this is where Wallens Ridge is at. Now, as we zoom out, Now, it's way away from Richmond. It's way, way, way up in here in the mountains. Let's just do a basic. Let's just do Richmond, Virginia. Let's just say that you are in Richmond. That is a 6-hour drive. We're gonna keep this map up. Now, there's families that you're gonna see that come all the way from Connecticut. We're gonna check that drive in a minute. I mean, anywhere you go, it's gonna be crazy. Look at this drive. Roanoke is in the middle. You got Norfolk or Virginia Beach right there. Okay, let's continue.
And this was the best thing that could come into our community. And it
Oh,
was
by
just,
the way, just her asking questions, she was being booed, ridiculed. Hey, is this a good idea? Just a good idea. They wanted to get on her tail like, no, this is the herd mentality. We're going along with this.
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget my feeling in that place. It was just awful.
Nothing around here pays as much as they will because nobody likes to pay a lot around here.
Because I think it's more secure than just like a fast food job or something. We could probably find a job in the mines paying about the same. It's not something you want to start out at.
Now, this is the prison job fair. This is in Duffield. Let's find out where that's at. Oh, we're taking this bit by bit. Right down the street. This is a 20-minute drive. I'm telling you, this is Redneck Hills Have Eyesville. Now, Big Stone Gap, East Stone Gap. I mean, you're literally Appalachia right here. You got Virginia and Kentucky. I mean, you are in the Hills Have Eyes up here. This is where the job fair was at.
Going as a career, yeah, you don't want to start looking into it as a career.
We could be 30 years old and out of work because there's no more coal around here.
I just thought I'd go and see what the prison was about, see if there was any job opportunity that I could get into. I applied to a lot of different places, and they really want somebody that has a lot of work experience, and I can't, get a job without work experience, but I can't, you see how the whole circle, anything with good pay,
Oh, they signing up left and right.
Correction officer, guard. I think that's the only thing I'm really qualified for. Coming out of the military, so I think I've pretty much done all this stuff, the prisoner handling and stuff.
They got a brother here. They got a brother over there. Let's go back.
I think that's the only thing I'm really qualified for. Coming out of the military, so I think I've pretty much done all this stuff, the prisoner handling and stuff. But I know a lot of people, they talk about going over the line too much and enforcing more than what they should, being on a power trip or something.
I know that there's a lot of racism in Southwest Virginia, but for me, I can honestly say I'm colorblind. I don't look at race, but anytime you cage people up like that, you have to, the psychological aspect of it, it's deep.
Now, he's saying he doesn't look at race. But when you get behind that wall, all that cap is gonna change. You're in a place where a lot of black folks. It's not a lot of black folks from the jump. You heard them say 10%. Let's continue.
Probably would come up, but that's something that hopefully they would train you for.
Something that they would train you for. Did you hear him say that? This is something they could train you for. If you're a race soldier, you can't be trained. You've been racism, white supremacy since you was a kid. So yeah, they could train you to stop being a race soldier if that's what you is. You see those little small little weasel words.
I can also say I'm colorblind. I don't look at race, but anytime you cage people up like that, you have to psychological aspect of it's it's deep, and racism probably would come up, but that's something that hopefully they would train you for. We have to leave it in their hands to train us. I think it would be an exciting job, I would be doing something new. It'd be like kind of like
You got
teaching.
two sisters in the back.
I'm willing to try it.
But the unique thing about this institution is this.
You got two sisters in the back.
In their hands to train us.
The brother's
I think it'd be
there.
an exciting job,
Look. You got two sisters in the back.
I would be doing something new. It'd be like kind of like teaching.
Something like teaching.
I'm willing to try it.
Now watch
The unique
this.
thing about this institution is this main building separates the prison in half. So you have 600 inmates on one side, 600 on the other. They cannot interact.
This dude has a New York accent. I just wanted y'all to notice that. He is a New York accent. Don't let that get beside you, okay? There's a reason why I'm saying what I'm saying.
With each other. So you're running two prisons for the price of one. One of the unique things
Two prisons for the price of one.
in any prison is noise. Noise in prisons provides more stress for staff and inmates than anything. Here it's different. Do all of them.
All right, so just wanted y'all to see that part. April 9th, 1999, when Wallens Riggs was open. Probably didn't need another prison right out the rip anyway, but I just wanted y'all to see that, 1999. So when Juvenile 400 Degrees came out, matter of fact, I believe the next album, the G Code, they opened this up.
We have an educational program.
There's two reasons you come here. You're serving a long period of time, 85 years, 80 years, 75 years, or you have been a violent offender and a predator in another prison. Well, both of those tell us you don't need education right off the bat.
Supermax they earn.
You earn your way in and you earn your way out.
He says Supermax they earn, and see he's wheeling himself out. Look at the size of this place. Look at the trees and the mountains. Now, I wasn't going to get into this just yet, but any black folks into this, into the South, what does this remind you of? Seriously, what does this really remind you of? This reminds you of a concrete plantation. You're way, way up in the mountains. You're far, far away. If you were trying to escape, you don't really have a way to go about doing it. I'm bringing this into the context of slavery. No, you're probably not up there picking cotton, no, but I'm just using that analogy.
That's already bloody. Just looking right over here, and
Look how much fun they're having. They're grilling. Oh man, they're having a ball. They're all lined up to get a burger. I just want y'all to see in this crowd. Take a look at some. I want y'all to see if you notice something. You can see how old it is from the 1999 Oldsmobile, the Oldsmobile Regency, the blue one in the back. Now listen to what they say.
Yes, to see what it's like. I just wanted to see, where the hard criminals, what kind of life they had.
Now look at that. This looked like something out of Total Recall. Look at this here.
Curiosity, I guess, to see what it's like. I just wanted to see, where the hard criminals, what kind of life they had.
Look at this. This looks like something out of the future. I just wanted you to see.
Just the guard standing in the post staring at you. I even said, I got goosebumps. They start out at $24,000 a year doing this kind of work. They don't make enough money, that's for sure. They really don't. Billy, that is razor wire.
The men and women who toil through 24-hour shifts, 7 days a week, to hurry this facility and get it ready, even through, as I'm standing, 10-foot snowdrifts sometimes up here on top of this ridge.
Now, you heard what he said. They were working. They wanted to get this thing done so they could get all these contracts and everything going on.
Construction of this facility is an epic challenge, and now I think it's an epic achievement. $4 million of contracts were awarded locally. And from the architects in Arlington to the cement cells, Petersburg, all these materials that went together to make this. We've abolished parole, past 3 strikes, you're out, and that's going to mean safer communities across the state because of this facility here today.
Now, who does that sound like to y'all? Who does that sound like to you? Who does that sound like? Just wondering. Who does that sound like to y'all? Look at Rufus. Now, he could be a reporter, but oh, he's clapping it up. They always got a roof for ruckus up there.
Organizing this is something, and your mind is perfect.
Fruit baskets. They got their fruit baskets going on.
We don't need the whole picture down there so we don't crowd it up. This is what I wanted to get to. This is the badge of the Department of Corrections, and on the back it says, the ultimate bed and breakfast. State prison.
Look at that, y'all. It's a joke. White supremacy is a sick joke. They got T-shirt. Ultimate bed and breakfast.
We had to predict how many inmates were coming in. It's very hard to predict. So we built prisons. And the inmate population did not get up to the level that we predicted that they would.
So what he means by that is it wasn't enough crime. Remember, the 1994 crime bill incentivized the federal government. That's why that Sambo that was up in my comments when I was basically showing, hey, you know, the 94 crime bill, if you look at that crime bill, that incentivized the states, and matter of fact, crime was going down. So when you hear all these these so-called apologetic political class, you know, a lot of the immigrant black caucus, they voted for the 94 crime bill. There was really no need for that crime bill. They admitted that already. And it incentivized it incentivized the states to get funding.
Other states, we had to predict how many inmates were coming in. It's very hard to predict. So we built prisons. And the inmate population did not get up to the level that we predicted that they would.
So how are you going to fill these beds? Well, let's find out.
Other states did not build their prison systems, and we were able to take them in. Charging them, not charging the taxpayers of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
So we're not going to charge the taxpayers Could be a suspected mammy right here. Oh, she's happy. Oh, who's committing crime? We got a place for your ass. Yeah, that's what they hired her for. Future destination of Virginia exile. So they put that there. You got the barbed wire here. You got the grinning faces. You got the suspected mammy. And you have this right here. So when they walk in this door, there's a psychological message for you. What is that psychological message? You're exiled. You're pretty much on a redneck Alcatraz. So they're saying that the Commonwealth of Virginia will not pay. The taxpayers in Virginia will not suffer the taxes. What they're gonna do is, and you could tell he looked like he was getting ready to say a little bit more. And he's like, well, we don't pay these taxes.
We had to predict how many inmates were coming in. It's very hard to predict. So we built prisons. And the inmate population did not get up to the level that we predicted that they would. Other states did not build their prison systems, and we were able to take them, charging them, not charging the taxpayers of the Commonwealth of Virginia. We were able to house those inmates and also generate, beyond that, $80 million in profit for the General Assembly.
$80 million. This is all about money, y'all. It's not about correcting anything. It's $80 million. You up there is
and for the general fund.
Okay, ready? In the hopes there won't be many Gilmores coming through this ribbon.
Supermax prisons almost became a status symbol, a way that politicians could say, we're tough on crime. You had a governor who said, oh, we need these supermaxes. They built 2 of them with a capacity of 1,200 each. So suddenly Virginia has 2,400 beds for the worst of the worst, violent people who need this kind of, and they didn't have that many people in their system. You then have prison systems that have too many prisoners, and they have to put them.
Look at that plane. There's business in the gas. There's business in the transportation. That's gas. You got to pay somebody to fly this, to drive this. You got to pay somebody to pay this crew. These are prisoners.
And instead of the legislators saying, well, let's look at who's in prison and do they really need to be in prison, and let's see if we can adjust the prison population more sensibly. Some people simply don't need to be in prison.
Can you imagine committing a crime in the state that you commit, and you were sentenced in that state, and then they say, you know what? You're convicted. You're supposed to stay in this state, but guess what? We're going to send you all the way. This is in New Mexico now. Let's go back. This is how far you're going to have to, your family's going to have to go. We're going to do it again. 21 hours. That's 1,400 miles. So if you have family there, unless they sending you some money, and we're not even going to get on how much the collect calls is going to cost, let alone letters and everything else, commissary, if they even give it to you. That's a 21-hour drive to get up there. You see, there ain't no plane. You dig what I'm saying? There's no plane. When you get up here, where are you gonna? Where's the plane? The closest plane is Charlotte. Were you gonna fly into Lexington and then drive down here? Fly into Charlotte and drive down there?
The correction officials are stuck. They have to send them someplace, and so they've been sent out of state. It's very troubling. It's sort of like we've become a kind of bizarre. Inmates are a commodity who are shipped around the country. You even have brokers who, okay, this prison system has empty beds, and this prison system has too many people.
That's nuts. And see, that's what I'm saying. From the food to the phones, to the police. When they come in and they make you squat and cough, and they throw that stuff on you to get rid of the fleas. This is literally trafficking.
arrange the deal.
We've had a lot of comments made that these are bad inmates. Well, New Mexico has a history of bad inmates. We all remember out in Dallas what happened where we were told that our prisoners just were too bad for that institution. Well, we found a place for them that I think that will be suitable for their behavior, and I don't think they're going to like it one bit.
I think it's imperative to get these inmates.
Now listen to this guy. Oh, his heartstrings was in this. Listen to this dude. I mean, he was in it.
That engaged in the disruption and destruction and violence out of this state into a super maximum security facility and let them know what their price to pay is going to be. I'm sorry they have family members. They're not going to see them. A lot of people think they should be sent out on a barge or an island. This is probably the best thing we got to it.
So you guys don't have a facility. You don't really have a facility that you could handle your inmates, so you have to send them out of state.
They never tell you where you're going, they tell you you're getting transferred. See, they always love to keep you in the dark. They'll tell you, hey, pack up your stuff, you're getting transferred. Guys already know. Showing up the next day on the van, they handcuff everybody, leg and shackle them. There is a welcoming gathering of correctional officers. The warden is there. Dogs are there. We have leg irons and shackles.
Now, remember what I said about slavery. Leg, arms, and shackles. Leg, arms, and shackles. We have to keep this. We have to keep this psychological breaking from the time you get in here. We have dogs. The hell do you got dogs for? Well, remember when the Maroons, and I believe this happened in the Caribbean too, when you had the Maroons and you had the Seminoles and they were fighting, they had these dogs. I talked about this in a couple other episodes. It was these Cuban, I forgot what the name was, but there was these Cuban dogs. I think they were Cuban slave dogs. Cuban slave dogs. They were called the Dogo Cabano. Now, I believe they're extinct now, but if you look at these dogs, there was a picture, type in Dogo Cabano and slaves, there's a picture right here where this brother is giving the Dogo Cabano the business. To me, it's one of the dopest pictures. I would like somebody, he wielding that axe and you could see the shackles right there. If you look very, very closely right here, you could see the shackles. So he probably took the shackles off. He then gave one dog the business. The other dogs is trying to get at him or whatnot. But yeah, that's probably a reason why they have the dogs, to intimidate you.
In leg irons and shackles, they're spitting words of hate. Here, you're nothing, you're nobody. And if you step out of line, we're going to shoot you. You already stripped down when you was transferring you from other locations, but they want you to strip down to this other place. They know you don't have anything, but they want to degrade a man and turn around and don't just squat and cough, but spread your ass cheeks in the language we use. Not spread your buttocks, and spread your ass cheeks. Let us look at your anus. That ain't good enough, what man? All this machoism, couldn't feel comfortable doing this thing. They even have a camera there. Those good old ones who were in Red Onion was in that. Learn your lesson section of the mountains, where they send what they call the worst of the worst.
Now, he mentioned Red Onion. Now, up the street, Red Onion ain't too far. So they built these, I believe, around the same time.
First thing it made me think of is like selling slaves. They were just selling people down there, making over $11 million while they did this.
I got a letter, not even a 24-hour notification for him. It was just in the middle
Now,
of the
this
night.
family is in New Haven, Connecticut. So let's see how far this is from Wallens State. New Haven, Connecticut. Another long drive. That's still far as hell, man. You got to go down through New York, Philly, Maryland, and then go all the way through Virginia, which this right here looks like it's just incredibly long.
We're transferring you. I went on the internet just to try to find out where in the heck this place was at, you know, and how far away was he actually.
I said, how in the world am I going to get to the South to visit him? No, I have no transportation, I have no money,
He was shipped down the day before my birthday. I didn't find out until I went up to visit, and I was told he was gone to Virginia. It's hell. He said, getting off the bus, they had guns pointed at them. They treated them like garbage. Don't grab like that.
They snatched him out from us. Didn't even let us know and sent him to Walter Ridge. Then at Walter Ridge, he was taken down, he said, in a little dark room, and told him, he said, you know, I can do anything I want to you guys, and your Connecticut family can't do a thing about it. These are the guards. So you guys better be particular how you talk and how you walk, because we'll kill you, and the Connecticut never know that you existed.
And they wasn't lying. I want to play something on here about a couple different pieces. There's a brother by the name of Banky Pound, and he was Virginia. He did like talking about this is one of the worst places. So I want to play a couple minutes. Fair use, YouTube, fair use.
Ridge, man. Yes, and I would tell y'all again off the top, this is the worst prison that I have ever been on in 33 years. For a lot of reasons, you know. Number one, it was so far away, it was up in the mountains. Number two, it was just ultra racist. And these people up here was like no other people that I have ever been around personally in my life. I say this before in other videos, I say it again. They put you in the frame of mind, man, of the movie Roots, man, like slavery, because this is how this administration carried it, man. They carried it like, you know, they were slave masters and we was just slaves, man.
Now remember what the other dude tried to say? Well, they could train us. How is that working out? Because they clearly said folks don't got no experience. They don't really have no real skills in experience dealing with, you know, being a guard and this, that, and the third. It didn't sound like they knew much of nothing. It didn't seem like these were your most stellar intellectual thinkers, did they? From what you heard before. Yet and still, they're able to wield power over black folk. And like they said, they'll unalive you at any given time, and there's nothing you can do. And that's why they put that place up there. Number one, to make money. Number two, to undermine black folk.
They talked to us how they wanted to talk to us. They treated us how they wanted to treat us. And you could buck if you want to. That was your, you know what I'm saying? That was your prerogative. But they was going to definitely punish you up there, man, because they had all the advantage, they had all the equipment, they had all the guns, they had the dogs, they had the law on their side, so you had no wins up there whatsoever. A lot of people had lost their life up there before I even got there. That was the big, you know, rumors all around the prison system, how they was, you know, brutalizing dudes up there, taking their life, killing them and getting away with it. There was a couple of murders up there before I even got there, you know, at the hands of officers. They had been on their investigation, they came through the investigation and got away with a lot of stuff up there, man. So it was a real dangerous place, man, to be going. I knew this coming in, so I had that in my frame of mind to try to be prepared for what I had to go through. I told y'all they put the trick up on me for me to get sent up there anyway by, you know, doctoring my paperwork. This is how the system works. You know, from time to time, man, whatever they gonna do, they gonna do it. And it ain't
so they could basically say, hey, look, man, you did this, you did that, we don't like you. Hey, send him to Wallens Ridge. Because he's in Virginia saying this. His time in Virginia. So what makes you think that they won't do that elsewhere? We're talking about well over 700 miles away. 700 miles away, man. In New Mexico, that is. And they sending people to make some money.
And you can do about it because you locked up, you incarcerated. There ain't nobody listening to you. You know, your complaints go unheard. You know, they make the public feel like, well, he locked up, he committed a crime, man. You know, he's a criminal. You know, he a lie, cheat, steal, whatever. Don't listen to him. So normally, you know, the convict, the inmate voice goes unheard, man. This gives the administration the power to do what they want to do with little, you know, recourse.
Fair use, you two. Fair use.
It's terrible, man. Especially when you get in a place like this. You know, they had blasted this whole mountain out up there at Wallens just to create this prison, to create a better economy up there in that part of the land, man. I think it was called Big Stone Gap, and you know, they did that, man, to boost the economy because before the prisons was made up there, you know, Wallace Ridge, Red Onion and all that, the biggest thing they had going up there was the coal mines. You had people that worked in the coal mines up there, man, for their whole life, and that was how they fed their family. So bringing these prisons in was new to them. This was something that could create, you know, revenue for them, create jobs for them to boost the economy up there. And that's the way they looked at it. You know, it was just a job to them. So you had a lot of these dudes getting jobs on this prison. They ain't never worked in the prison, ain't never worked in law enforcement before, never worked in institutions before.
So these are people that are working in law enforcement that don't have any experience in law enforcement. That's insane. They don't have any experience in law enforcement yet. All.
You know, so they coming in there and never even worked in there before, but yet they giving a gun, they giving dogs, they giving all of this ammunition, mace and stuff to use on you. You see what I'm saying? And they racist. They don't even like, you know, African Americans. They don't like any other race but their own race. And yet they still got a job here and they have authority over your life. This in itself creates a dangerous situation. You see what I'm saying? And it won't nothing you can do about it. Everybody who worked there, it was some form of nepotism. Either they knew each other, they was some kin to each other, they grew up with each other, so they each had each other's back. You know,
yeah, all those people at that job fair that we were looking at, they got each other's back. This guy was already Chad babbling and Bob babbling, saying, there could be some racism that comes up, and you know we got to get trained for it and stuff like that. Now, when he's talking about trained, he's not talking about having an open mind and an open dialogue and conversation. Like they said, soon as you get up there, when you get off that bus, these people is calling you the N-word. You know, they're pointing guns at you. They got the dogs out there. They're disrespecting you when you get fresh off that bus. They're just letting you know. Like he told the guy. He said, man, they get him down in the little room and basically told him, you know, you step out of line and we'll unalive you up in here. So when he's talking about training, that's why I called Cap early.
And they used that, you know, to their full advantage, man, and took full advantage of everybody that came up there. And like I said, I knew this going in, but when I got there...
Fair use, YouTube. Fair use.
And you can hear a lot of things, man, but what you hear and what you experience are two different things. You know, I can tell you how good this burger is, but then when you eat it, you're going to have your own, you know, assessment of how it is to you. So when I got up there and I started looking around, and I started seeing it off the grip, I could see the look in their face. I could see the way they act, the way they, you know, looked at you with disgust. They looked at you like you was beneath them. They looked at you
and
like,
keep in mind, they haven't been around you long enough to have that attitude. They had that attitude before then.
You wasn't even a human being, you know. So I knew, I settled in my brain of what I was dealing with. And I had to control me. I had to control my temper because I got my own principles, my own laws, my own rules of what I will go for, what I won't go for. And my number one rule is I'm not going to let you hurt me. You know, I'm definitely not going to let you hurt me without repercussions. You know, be it the administration, be it as inmate, be it as convict, be it as anybody. All I have is my own life, and I'm going to protect that at all costs, even if it costs me my life. You know, but that's just principles that I stand on, man. And I dug my feet in the ground on those. I'm never gonna let anybody hurt me if I can prevent it, and I'm gonna always try to prevent it. So this put me in a more dangerous situation because of the way they current it and the way they acting.
Man, I'm gonna let y'all know. This brother has maybe 1 or 4 parts. He went through a couple different videos. I think he has like 2 different series of videos talking about the Wallens plantation. That's how I first heard about it. Now, I did hear initially they used to have this thing on the internet called Prison X, where there was this brother that was talking about out in them mountains, and it was some sisters that was locked up in New York as well, and they was talking about them mountains. In New York, in the mountains, they were talking about going to these correctional facilities where they had guards, they had correctional facility race soldiers that had tattoos, where there was a black baby being hung by a noose. There were situations where, you know, and just like I always be talking about these so-called suicides. Oh, this person committed suicide. They have all these weird suicides. Oh, he just committed suicide, where there was really no investigation. Oh, he committed suicide. And that happens a lot too. And these guards was unaliving folks.
We have behavior modification in life. Why shouldn't we have it in the prison system? We monitor phone calls. Within 1 month, inmates were calling back to their loved ones, and like their mothers, and telling them that their brother is incarcerated, that when you talk to him, tell him not to act up. He won't make it here. Now, there's nothing wrong with that.
Now, here's the thing when he says not to act up. Now, keep in mind, you done got yourself in this facility. You might be still in that facility regardless when they put you there, especially in places like Louisiana, as I showed you. But let's just say you do some BS, or you commit a crime, and it's time for you to pay your debt to society, right? Act up. You're in the belly of the beast. So yeah, like he's basically saying go by inmate rule. Don't you know, especially in a place like Wallens Ridge, you get off that bus, let's say you're a little guy, you're worried about predators and being able to fight people off you or whatever the case may be. But he's saying don't act up. You can't go to the guards. Number one, that's against convict code number 1. But you can't go to the guards because these guards are going to be like, oh, just deal with it. You're an animal. You probably like it. You probably like being abused, being attacked, whatever. You can't go to them. Most of them you're not going to be able to go to. That's number 1. Number 2, you got to defend yourself against other inmates. So other inmates will see that you'll stand for self. So, but that's called acting up.
That's what we have people go to.
Be a good boy. Be a carpenter, Malcolm. Be a good boy. You see, when they say acting up, that's another dog whistle. Peep these little dog whistles in the. They don't have to call you a nigga to treat you like one. They do not.
Prison for to be punished for crimes they committed, and hopefully not commit any more crimes while they're in there.
The Supermax model is one essentially of 24 hours a day in your cell. You get no access to education, to work. In Massachusetts, they said you could have religious books and you could have trashy novels, but you couldn't have any educational books because you had forfeited the right to educational books, which, again, I'm thinking, how could anybody, where did they come up with such a
So you can't be productive. You can't do anything constructive. So you could have the religious books. The religious books may not necessarily get you a skill set and really get your brain into critical thinking. Because they say, well, it's a religious book. Well, how many religious books are there? You know, you got the Bible, and then somebody can just write a religious book. I can take a book, and then I can just put my own analysis on what I think these scriptures and verses are. That still doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily be productive. And in trashy models, you just sit around there thinking about women that you're not really going to come across. So that's another thing to keep your mind in the gutter and to keep you from thinking constructively and critically. You see what I mean?
Notion. States are strapped for money, so they're having to build prisons, but they don't want to spend a lot of money on staff, on programs, on education, on things that could make prisons more than warehouses.
One of the officers said to me, he said, it's like every day going into a war zone. He said, that's all I can say it is, it's a war zone. It's us against them. And as those who were pushing these prisons for their jobs were standing back, this was really a recipe for an explosion. Abuse of prisoners, racism. I don't think it took 4 months before the Human Rights Watch people were in here.
And that's all. And that's for the stuff that we know about. Because remember, they were saying that it was a. My CPU is kind of going up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna close out of this. So, the Human Rights Watch. Somebody in there, it could have been a guard. It could have been a guard that got off code and broke his connection to the white supremacist infrastructure in there. Maybe he said, I'm gonna go off code and I'm just gonna let people know, hey man, they doing niggas dirty up in here. Or it could have been an inspector. Somebody spilled the beans, because they remember they listen to your phone calls. They're tampering with federal mail. Like the sister I was talking about in New York. That was on that documentary many years ago that used to come out on YouTube. She was basically saying that you had these big giant guards just beating up on women, beating up on them. And they were actually violating your constitutional rights, which should be treason against the United States because the Constitution, the so-called Constitution, is supposed to protect us. Well, your letters, that's dealing with federal mail. They'd be going through your letters, and if you say, well, hey, man, this guy is beating me with a baton, your letter won't go to your family members.
Well, I was a janitor at nursing home at Dryden at that time. It wasn't a real high-paying job, but I enjoyed the work. You got to really help the old people and things. My two brothers just said, Chris, why don't you come up here and get a job up here? We'll help you get a job. And I said, I don't know if that work will be cut out for me. But after a while, I decided I'd go up there, thinking about the money and the benefits and all that. So I quit my job and I go to work up there. A lot of the inmates had never been there before. They didn't know where they were at. A lot of the correction officers had never been dealt with anybody that was from the city. We were all from around here. Most of them had never been in no kind of law enforcement. And I think
now you heard what he said. Now he's saying the same thing that Banky said. He's saying the same thing that I said. What the same thing that everybody's saying. Hey man, you got some folks up in here. They have no job like this. Now, this looks like the hill that people are probably coming to and from. I'm assuming that they probably got maybe about 1,500 to 2,000 inmates up there. So I reckon it might be anywhere between 300 to 400 or so staff at that place at a given time. So we're talking about a big industry. No, we're not just talking about inmates. We have to consider food contracts. Oh, yeah. We're going to have to consider food contracts. And we're going to go into that as well. We got to consider the food contracts. So there's some other stuff that I'm going to bring up. Let me see. There's another article. There was something that I had put to the side. And we'll get to this article at some point in time here. All right, so let me minimize that so we just get. But if you look at all of these different cars coming up, this guy could have been one of the dudes that decided that, well, I'm going to kind of tell you what happens, and I don't really want to be a part of this anymore. So let's continue as we go along.
A lot of them, it went to their head. They liked that authority and that badge and all that. We didn't understand each other, I guess you could say. And we were told, you don't need to be talking about anything that goes on at this prison when you're off work.
See, so there goes the nepotism. Everybody up there staying on code is literally like a world within a world, where they say, hey, we could abuse these guys anytime we want and don't tell anybody about it. So in a way, he's kind of putting his neck on the line and in danger by even getting on this documentary and saying, hey, man, these guys were mistreated. And they really genuinely didn't have to do those guys like that. They're, like I say, if you come off the bus and you see just this big concrete behemoth of a place, and then you realize and you see these guys with these dogs or whatever, you ain't gonna start acting up anyway. You, in your mind, you like, man, I may not make it up out of here. You're not really worried. I mean, the inmates is one thing, but the guards, when you come into an environment like that and they're doing that, yeah, this guy's just telling a fraction of what he probably seen up there.
Keep your mouth shut, not say anything. When you go into a place like that every day and it's hopeless, and that's what it is, hopeless. You know, it does change you. When I left the prison, I started mowing grass with a push lawnmower and a weed eater out the back of my car. I didn't make the money I made at the prison, but I was a whole lot more satisfied. It was like a burden.
So, okay, we're going to do a little aerial. I seen this aerial shot some months ago, and I was just like, oh, man, this is literally in the middle. It's crazy. So, for him to quit and for him to just get him a lawnmower and then just do his lawn work, it must have been some stuff, some really, really bad stuff he's seen up there that he just couldn't get right with his soul about it. He said, okay, I can't be a part of this. That's what happened right there. Now look at this shot right here that they had of this place. It's like area
grass with a push lawnmower and a weed eater out the back of my car. I didn't make the money I made at the prison, but I was a whole lot more satisfied. It was like a burden that was lifted off of you. The money didn't matter anymore.
Now look at this part here. These look like initially, if you from the get-go, you see down the mountain there is quite a bit of different lights. This is towards maybe the 6-minute mark. I think it was the 6 minute, the 4 minute mark, the 4 minute and 57 second mark. You can see where it almost looked like a UFO. And then you get up here and you see all these winding roads. So even if you were able to get off of this plantation, even if you were able to get off of this place, you'd have to get down these winding roads, and then there's a bunch of other roads down here as well.
Families were calling about what's the closest bus station, where is this place, where are they, how can we get there?
Now they're in Hampton, Virginia. So let's take a look and see how far is Hampton, Virginia. Hampton, Virginia is not too far from Richmond. That's an extremely, I mean, that's 7 hours. You're still in the, can you think about that? You're still, Virginia must be pretty big because you're still in the same state. I mean, this is right at the edge of Kentucky, it looks like. You're still in the same state, yet it's a 7-hour drive. It's a 7-hour drive.
Wonder why would my son be way across the state when they had corrections centers and down at home. We try to fix it so when they come out, they can be a productive citizen. And I think the closest person, the closest one can do that is a family member.
Now I want y'all to see how long this brother's family had to go. It's heartbreaking the way that they went up.
to sleep till I get well and warm.
Now remember, y'all, this is way in the hills have Eyesville. This is there wasn't no GPS. You got to keep in mind that there was no GPS during this time. No Siri. I mean, you really had to whip out that map and get to it. They put this place somewhere where you don't even want to go.
I like to fall asleep when I'm traveling. I like to stay up late.
Number 10. You're on 81 South, so we have to
Yeah. Yeah, uh-huh. The road's real small and those little mountains and stuff. Scary.
Fair use, YouTube. Fair use. This is for educational purposes. This is for educational purposes.
No. I-81 South.
And I want to give credit where credit is due. I found this out by looking at one of the playlists on the G Street News. I make a lot of references to that brother because I've been looking at his stuff, as a case study. He's been exposing the predatory tactics of the Louisiana penal system. And he's exposing a lot. I mean, a lot of this stuff is extremely graphic and brutal, but there has really been no step by step. You could tell there's no way he could lie about this kind of stuff. No possible way. Actually, one of the stories I was listening to, and he was talking about he wasn't breaking down what facilities it was. I found out what facilities he was. He said because one of the facilities that they created in Louisiana was that of a paradise. It was that of a paradise. And you gonna be like, well, damn, DP, you a smart nigga. How did you find that out? DP, how did you find that out? Well, I'm actually a little smart, you see, because this looks like a paradise. Yeah. And as you can see, it's a privately owned institution. Yeah, it's a privately owned institution. And if you look at these other pictures, which we'll get in there we'll talk about that in a minute. If you look at these other pictures, here's another aerial picture. Right there. Now, when you look at a paradise, he's looking at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has to be talking about Allen Correctional. And he said, actually, this place is worse than Angola. Angola ain't the same Angola that it used to be. We'll get back to the story. We're gonna get back to the story. But you want to, well, DP, you got your investigative journalism going on. You got your investigative journalism going on, right? Got your investigative journalism going on. So ain't none of this stuff by accident, y'all. They do all this on purpose. Nothing's by accident.
Yeah, dog, you missed something.
So now they got to kind of turn around. Again, you're going into these places where there's probably not a lot of hotels. People, this is a coal mine place. Trying to go to no damn coal mine town. These are towns and cities that are left behind. They're towns and cities and stages of history that have been frozen in place. Therefore, you have very little. Man, let's do a little analysis right damn now. Let's not wait. Let's look and see where the closest hotel is. You don't really see any hotels. Big Stone Gap. There's a Kentucky Fried Chicken. There's a campground. Mountain Empire Community College. That is a beautiful view. And it's probably some black folks to stay out here. But I mean, this place right here, man, it doesn't seem like there's much out there. It just doesn't seem like it's much out there, man. And what I want to do is I want to find out where the nearest airport is. Man, the nearest airport is 4 hours away. The best airport right here is probably Charlotte. And then the next one up here is probably, Lexington or maybe Louisville? Yeah, you got a 4-hour drive from Charlotte Dallas International Airport. They got a real nice airport. I like it. But that's what I'm saying, y'all.
We just want to see a hotel room. I'm very tired and looking forward to seeing my brother.
When was the last time you got to see him?
About 2 years ago. So I'm kind of lost a little bit, feeling our way.
Now this looks like Silent Hill. You guys ever seen Silent Hill? This looks like the damn Silent Hill movie. This literally looks like Silent Hill. Let me back it up a little bit. Now it's 6 in the morning. I think they left at 3.
Looking forward to seeing my brother.
When was the last time you got to see him?
About 2 years ago. So I'm kind of lost a little bit, feeling our way.
They're thousands and thousands of miles away from Connecticut. I can't believe this. You start seeing mountains and everything else, and I'm thinking to myself, I would never be in this part of the country for any minute. Other than this, I don't think I would be. Ears are popping, and you go around and round and round.
Look at this, y'all. You would probably never go up in these little places. This is, like I say, this is wrong turn all the way.
Why would you build a prison so far up here and so secluded from, I know you have prisons out of neighborhoods, but it's just unbelievable where it's actually at.
Cameras are pointed at you like you're a prisoner. You're not allowed to get off the bus until the cameras are on. They pat search kids. Why? My 2 little girls went with me. It's kind of hard to explain to them that they need to be touched when we teach our kids that people should not be touching them.
They come out shackled around the waist, at the ankles, and at the wrist. The only thing that they unloosen is one arm to talk on the phone. I just think it's just because they want to do it. They just want to do it. They just want the feeling.
Yes, absolutely. And see, these are the things that, when the human rights folks go in, they were like, okay, this is what they do is they try to break your spirit. And you mistreat somebody like that in a while, you up in the mountains like that, man, your spirit will be broken. They can actually break your spirit if you ain't careful. And that's the whole entire point. And we're not talking about prison. This is, as Neely Fuller called it, greater confinement. We're not just talking about prison. We are talking, if we go back into California, I always tell you guys to consider looking at them on Amazon Prime on when black folks started to move to Compton from places like Carolina and all, from the South. When black folks left the South and started moving to California so they could get a better job, they didn't flee because they were terrified, because, as you know, there's sundown towns that was everywhere but just the South. Okay, so they were moving because they wanted a bag. They're like, okay, I'm dealing with race soldiers here. I'm going to deal with them everywhere I go, but let me at least get a little bit better money. They got to California. What did LA do? What did they do for South Central LA? What did LA County do? They went and hired a bunch of rednecks from Mississippi that they knew how to handle Negroes. They knew how to handle Negroes. And that's why they hired them. They could have hired some white men from California. They said, nah, We want some stone cold race soldiers. We want the spirit of a white supremacist through and through. Where do we need to go? Mississippi. And that's where they went to go hire a lot of these race soldiers from. They said, hey, come to sunny California. We'll take care of you. You'll be on the police force. So now what you're getting is you're getting a Jim Crow. You're getting a Jim Crow atmosphere in a sunny, so-called liberal California environment. How liberal? You're good white liberals, right?
And see their loved ones like that, and just seem like they're animals, and that's how he felt, like he was an animal, along with probably all the other inmates that were down there. That's how he felt, like a caged animal.
It was just a joy. He wished that, he could hug us and have contact with us.
Oh, he was happy. He said the night before he didn't get any sleep at all. I guess it's like it was when I was in service. When I got a chance to come home for a couple of weeks after being away for 2 months, I didn't sleep at all that night.
Our trip was just perfect.
It drains families. I mean, it's bad enough that your heart is hurting because your child is in there, but on top of that, it's a financial burden also.
I was paying $150 a month, riding up and down the road to down in Virginia, costing us money, living in a hotel. I mean, the family also is being punished. Each family in Connecticut, that child is down there in that prison. We have to go, we have to spend a massive amount of money. Telephone company, every one of these big corporations here in America has a hand in making money off the prison system. This is why they're probably saying to the judge, give them more time, give them more time. We make money, we give you a cut at it. The more money we make, the bigger cut you get. That's right.
She's not lying about this, y'all. And here's further proof coming up.
Believe that. I really do believe that. They're not interested in if these guys are coming guilty. Let's guilty or not guilty. Let's build more prison. We can make more money. We can make more money.
Now look at this, y'all. The American Correctional Association annual conference in Nashville, Tennessee. Man, this is trade shows for this stuff, y'all. I'm quite sure, I wasn't oblivious to it like it didn't exist, but just seeing it. I'm talking about actually seeing. This is from 1999, y'all. This documentary came out a while ago. Well, 99 is when Wallens Riggs was opened up. So it had, this was around that same time. Look at this. I mean, they're pouring in. They can't wait.
Being here is part of the competition. You need to show yourself in the circle of corrections people. Over the past 10 years, we've done about $1.2 billion of corrections. It's a worldwide industry.
$1.2 billion. That's just one guy.
We've built about 35,000 cells in the last 12 to 15 years.
Reinforced concrete construction throughout. This would be what you would call a truly hard facility.
Now, reinforced concrete. Now, you heard what he said. Let's get the DP analysis, y'all. Now, remember, let's get the DP analysis. Pat Williams Construction. Now, they did Allen Parish Correctional. Now, we're talking HVAC. We're talking about electricity. If you notice in the South, they're building dorms because it might be a little cheaper. 25,100 square feet, high security detention. Security doors, building furnaces, masonry, mechanical, electrical system. Project, $4 million. That's the superintendent. Location was in Oberlin. Date completed, March 15, 2019. These are all black folk that's going to be in these facilities, y'all. Weird looking prisons, if you ask me. Very, very strange. That's why they call them prison farms. This look like this could be some HVAC, some AC or whatnot. They'll cut the AC off. They've been doing, guards have been known to do that. Oh, it's hot. Y'all acting a fool. Y'all stabbing each other up. You violating each other. Oh, we'll just cut the AC off. There's stories on that. This looks like this might be the infirmary. You ain't gonna get a lot of help up in there. Piping, HVAC. This looks like it's a control room. Big money, more piping, that's plumbing. If the inmates flood something, if they got to get some flooding, if something happens, I mean, man, it's money left and right. Money left and right. Company history. I just want to kind of go in this for a little while. Now, he started in 1978, Pat Williams. Look at the projects that they work on. Commercial, government, healthcare, religious, municipality, historical, education. It's insane. They got a church, repairs for a school. Big money. Big money. Let's get back to the task at hand.
Look at that picture. That's the epitome of high-grade walls. There's no doubt about that.
So that like someone complains of chest pain, you can rule out heart attack without having to move them.
32 caliber, 45-69 in our Trident. We have our hornet's nest sting grenades. We call it a behavioral modification.
Behavioral modification. Remember what dude said, don't act up. Look at how proud they are. Look at their pride and their arrogance.
There's a reason they call it less lethal. It still can produce lethality. It's considered less lethal. It has less of a chance to produce lethality.
AT&T is a big supporter of the American Correctional Association.
Oh, shout out to AT&T.
The correctional market will provide automated inmate systems.
Verizon has some of the lowest rates in the nation, I do believe, for collect calls originating from prisons. But, the fact is that they're not going to be charged at the same rates as just a call from your home. It just can't happen that way.
It can't happen that way. I want y'all to think about that for a moment. It can't happen that way. Now, iron concrete jungle. And it's not like they got 70 phones on the compound. They probably got maybe 3 to 4 phones per tier or something. It's not like they got 3,000 phones. They might have maybe 40 to 50 phones across the whole prison that the inmates can use, maybe more. And they're telling you they got to charge you $2 a minute. They just got to on a landline.
Polycarbonate, safety, cost, and durability.
It just feels good. It fits well, it feels good, it wears well. The state of Tennessee has been wearing this boot for the last couple of years, and they like it an awful lot.
They do work in penitentiaries. They don't get a lot of money. It's something like 5 cents an hour. But
they do work 5 cents an hour. Now look at this. They got Soul Glow. And then you got to think about this. They got, now think about this. Let's peel some layers back, y'all. Now we're in prison, we're in greater confinement. And are we still concerned about getting a weave or getting a perm? These are perms. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they're selling. You Negroes want to continue to get your hair straight, and we got it for sale. This is insane.
People that supply them, they put money into their account. We have a lot of ethnic products.
We have a lot of ethnic products because we have a lot of Negroes in these prisons. So we got to make more money.
There's a lot of ethnics in jail.
You heard what he said. We got a lot of ethnic products because it's a lot of ethnics in the jail. It's a lot of Negroes.
This is a handheld stun device. This is called the Ultron 2. And very simply, you make contact by pushing this on somebody. All right? And that's what it looks like. To me, it feels like a bee sting. Okay? Even if they're overused, it's easier to defend a case against overuse of this compared to the overuse of a nightstick or a baton.
Not if you don't allow the report to get through, as a lot of these inmates have said.
Money in this industry in the last 20 years, the growth, I suspect it's going to flatten out, the growth, because what? Just a little while ago it was 1 million people, and now I think it's 2 million? Well, hey, and it's a fortune to keep people in cages, with the high, the special steel and the special concrete and special, that's what this whole thing is. You can stay in a motel or a nice hotel for cheaper than the government can house. Yeah, it's huge money, huh?
So if it's huge money, that means someone's paying for it. Somebody's getting rich.
Concertina wire, the guns, all that whole milieu of products that goes into, housing people behind bars. The last 20 years has been a great capitalistic growth.
Great capitalistic growth. You remember what I said about the head to body lights when they strip you down? They making a fortune off of that.
It's made a lot of people money, and that's our culture. We're a capitalistic culture.
I got the Ultron. It's just a little electric gun type thing. It jolts you a little bit, but I mean it ain't as potent as what some people may let on. Shields used for cell entries. The officers down there it's like they wanted to do something. They'd rather do a cell entry than saying, hey, why don't you just give me a cutback or give me your tray back. They just cuss the inmate or the inmate cuss him, so they wouldn't give him the chance. So there never was no respect there with a lot of the officers I seen at Wallens Ridge.
So yet we have another guy that basically said, hey, they weren't even trying to have a simple conversation. They just wanted to harm folks.
The inmates.
We had a birthday party. He turned 21. They came to that happened to him. Still do that. My dad, a little cemetery, and I go visit him. I go say a prayer and stuff. We go to church like candles, I remember him.
First time you ever been incarcerated at the age of 17 and dead at the age of 20. I could probably imagine David now going up to Virginia on that bus, scared. He didn't know about doing time in jail. Especially for a person's first time ever being in jail, I can't see how they could end up in the worst up in Virginia with.
Now, they didn't send this kid. He didn't look like no more than about 120 damn pounds. They didn't send this guy to Wallens Ridge, and they said he committed suicide. I don't know if I believe that, but they didn't send this kid to a supermax for his first time in prison. His first time.
Mass murderers, people doing life, never coming home.
Kid David never nobody.
He had one charge of possession of drugs.
Down here, he got the help in Connecticut when he needed,
They should have been giving him some more type of help or something. Not throwing him in a cell where, nobody's around, leave him in a cell all day by himself. But he was a good kid. To me, he was like a little kid lost up there in the prison system, just walking around wondering, what am I doing up here? Like, where's my family at? If David was in Connecticut, he would have still been living today because the guards gotta go get shields, they gotta go get weapons and everything before they even open up the cell. So they're gonna see him hanging and they're gonna have to look at him for a little while. They're gonna have to wait till the guy gets all their equipment in order for him to go in there because they said that somebody might be faking it and the guards might get hurt.
Nobody said, well, let's find out. Wait a minute, guys. He's a little tiny guy, weighs 120 pounds. He's got a history of suicide attempts. He's in here on a minor drug possession charge. He's got a year and a week to serve before he's out of here.
That's insane. A minor drug possession charge and you send him to Wallens Ridge. I'm telling you, man, this is something else.
And
take him away from his family, his only support.
His only support, take him away from his doctors, take him away from his psychiatrist, take him away from his social workers, keeping him alive. And let's slip him into this contract that permits us to send people down there as long as they have at least a year to serve. He's got a year and a week. Let's slip him into this contract that says you got to be at least 20 years old. And he was, what, 20 years old and one day. I mean, literally, he had just turned 20. So he just eked into this, and nobody paid any attention. Nobody looked out for this guy. Nobody did their homework. It was like 7 minutes before they finally go in. When they finally go in, do they cut him down? No, they send somebody back out again for a taser shield to cover him up so they can stun him into unconsciousness if he decides to lash out against the 7 guards.
Now they got a shield. And this guy is clearly not being violent against nobody. They got a taser shield.
Hard angle, I need backboard, I need pressure, and a neck brace. Backboard, stretcher, and neck brace. Yeah, actually. Get your medical stuff out and don't touch nothing. Don't take nothing down, don't touch nothing.
I believe they did something to him. The way that they were going about, I mean, I really think they did something to him. Now they're still capping again here. Fair use, YouTube. Fair use.
Ma'am? Ma'am? A big man for this? Want to call him?
The doctor pronounced him dead 1 a.m. in the morning. If the hospital's 10 minutes away, what was they doing with him all the time?
Why did he commit suicide? What drove him? Maybe he couldn't take the guards no more. Maybe
Some letters that we had said the guards was doing stuff like spraying perfume in the cell.
maybe a lot of things were happening. We would never find out.
Governor ordered Mr. Armstrong signed the paper saying no medical, people with medical problems should not have been up there. People with mental health problems should not have been up there.
I hope to get justice, the truth I want. You know, it's hard.
I just hope that, nothing don't happen to nobody else up there,
And Human Rights Watch wrote reports, and then...
Now, wait till you hear this dude. This is the same dude from earlier. Wait till you hear what he has to say. Wait till you hear.
Prisoners were shipped from Connecticut. There were a series of newspaper articles. Did that surprise you?
Didn't surprise me because people in the North don't know the war's over. That's the same comment I gave to the Connecticut television station. It's over. And we're not prejudiced here.
Uh-oh. Whoa. Uh-oh. Did you hear that? That was a big dog whistle. Did y'all hear that?
A series of newspaper articles. Did that surprise you?
Didn't surprise me because people in the North don't know the war's over. That's the same comment I gave to the Connecticut television station. It's over. And we're not prejudiced here.
But there's a certain amount of resentment. You know, when you read things in the newspaper about your sons and daughters and husbands and wives that work up there, and then they're talked about like they're whips and chains, beating people. You know, as a community, there's a certain amount of resentment in that.
Now, think about that. There's a certain amount of resentment. Now, remember, there was 2 former Wallens Ridge guards that was going on. Let's rewind it back to dude talking about, well, we need more training. Now you have somebody saying, well, they're making it seem like it's a bunch of whips and chains. They're making it seem like we're having them pick cotton. That doesn't happen anymore. But you still have that white supremacist mentality that's sieging in their soul. So you see how she got on code real quick? Look up all the way from the city council. Man, they are on code to the bitter end.
Newspaper about your sons and daughters and husbands and wives that work up there, and they're talked about like they're whips and chains, beating people. You know, as a community, there's a certain amount of resentment in that.
So the community stands behind this stuff that they're doing up there. They know what's going on. They said, well, don't talk to anybody. That little dusty ass town, man. You cannot convince me that don't nobody know what's going on up in there. They're all clicked up. Uncles, aunts. This is the Hills Have Eyes. They're all clicked up. This is a correctional facility, wrong turn. They're all together. They all work together. You got all types of family members. Y'all don't got no experience. That means you can let anybody in.
Did I expect that from Amnesty International? Yes. Human rights? Yes. You see it right now with the Taliban people in Guantanamo Bay. You know, I answer you that one by saying they was living in caves before. They're down in the Caribbean.
This is not a joke. You know what I mean?
You heard what he said. He said, man, they was living in caves. We're civilizing you. Now you're in the Caribbean. Now on the waves. If you locked up at Guantanamo Bay, man, you in the concrete jungle. The brother's kind of like, man, what the hell? You see what I'm saying? That's another dog whistle. I wanted y'all to see this documentary so you could see what the mindset is.
This is nothing funny, nothing to giggle about and make yourself feel powerful. You know what I mean? Just to say, I'm the man. The man responsible for what? For ruining lives? I was strapped down, or what they call 5 points. They strap you down in your boxes for 48 hours. Any old allegation. 8 hours, they're supposed to come through and let you use the bathroom, and then they let you up for your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's like you're sitting there looking at the ceiling and harassing in the cuffs, trying to go to sleep. That was on 3 different times, so I know. Everything gets black, and it feels like even though you ate food, you just feel smaller. The more you wrestle the cuffs trying to get comfortable to lay down and sleep, because you got to think 48 hours. So you cry, some cry.
This is like Arkham Asylum.
To sleep, cry, men. You're there until you actually piss on yourself. And they laugh about it. Oh yeah, you remember that time we made you piss on yourself. You don't want to go there. It's something you use for fun.
5-point restraints are an extremely serious form of restraint. They are only supposed to be used under standard correctional practice to restrain someone who poses a serious danger to himself or someone else, basically for someone who's out of control. Never supposed to be used as punishment. And in this case, they clearly were.
No, there is no abuse. Inmates that strike out against...
He's lying. He is absolutely lying. I'm surprised that this dude even got on camera.
Correctional officers are dealt with swiftly. And I see no apology needed that when an inmate attempts to throw a punch, use a homemade device to try and hurt an individual, that we take them down swiftly with the most efficient tools that we have. And I stand by every officer that does that because that's our job.
being within that facility day after day after day, becoming more violent.
Now, this part I didn't see. So right after dude was telling his lies and painting the narrative that ain't no abuses going on when there clearly is. Like I said, I'm reviewing this live. Like, I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched up to a little bit before this point right here. So I'm gonna be just kind of doing this on the fly with y'all. I hope that the sound quality will be a little bit better. I'm not exactly sure why it's coming out the way it is, but you know, we'll make it do what it do, and as I promised, it's gonna get better.
Becoming more racist, the hate, and so the domestic violence has gone up, the divorce rate, the drug and alcohol problem.
You heard what she said. Listen.
Hurt an individual that we take them down swiftly with the
Now, if there's no abuses, then why would this be happening? You heard what this old lady ain't lying about this.
most efficient tools that we have. And I stand by every officer that does that because that's our job.
Being within that facility day after day after day, becoming more violent, becoming more racist, the hate, and so the domestic violence has gone up, the divorce rate,
You see how they were looking? What are you doing here? You're an outsider. You see how I'm gonna play this one more time. Do you see how these folks was? These people was looking real, and look at how they act. Look at the scorn on their face.
And I stand by every officer that does that because that's our job.
being within that facility day after day after day, becoming more violent, becoming more racist, the hate, and so the domestic violence has gone up, the divorce rate, the drug and alcohol problem. It compounded so many of the social issues here. I spoke to correctional officers who knew David Tracy, knew the situation, knew the Frazier person, and just knew. And one said to me, he was just the kindest, gentlest. He said, I can't imagine this happening to him.
On June 29th of 2000, Larry Frazier was having a diabetic attack. He was placed in shackles and in handcuffs. A number of security personnel took him to the infirmary. He was given insulin in the infirmary, called out for his mother, was somewhat delusional. On the way, when he was moving around, he was hit at least 3 times with the Ultron tube, then put in what's called 5-point restraint. Then everyone left the room, and then there was a realization that he had stopped breathing.
They called me and told me that he had passed, and they told me he had a heart attack. I said, I didn't have a heart trouble. They asked me what they wanted to do with the body. I said, well, you just took him down, you bring him back. They sent him back ripped open, and then they tied him up with string. They didn't sew him back or nothing. It was just real bloody and stuff, wrapped up in sheets. It was no body bag or nothing, just wrapped up in sheets. And then they brought him in a van. A guard, he had to be a guard that brought him in there in a van. So we took him off. And the Undertaker cleaned him up a little bit and let us take pictures of him, how they sent him back. Oh, they lied. They lied. I took pictures of him. And then the Undertaker, I seen all these marks on him. There were 9 of them. 9 where he hit him with a stun gun. You see, they burned right into his skin and everything. Now, you think that should be with the stun gun? You see his wrist? You see that?
Yeah, that's not a stun gun. They was straight up unalive. They was riding folks out up there.
How they sent him back, wrapped up in sheets. This is the other hand.
Yeah, if you really now wrapped up in sheets, didn't sew them up. Now this is supposed to be your infirmary. Y'all keep this in mind. They're autopsy. So I that's why. Now I didn't see this part. That's why I was saying what I was saying about, well, there's no abuses. That's impossible. when you have this going on, you got this big shiny prison, this very, very, very profitable prison. Your infirmary is supposed to be spick and span. You supposed to have an autopsy and all of that. You ain't gonna get no justice in that town. So when they ship you back, they basically up, here's your brother, nigga. Any old kind of way. And that's where the danger is. Because they didn't even have the decency to send him to the county. It almost seemed like they just dropped him off, wrapped him up in a sheet, not even a body bag, and dropped him off. So where are they burying these people when they kill them?
What did the governor say about what happened to Larry, the Connecticut governor?
He said, he made a statement that the 50,000 votes went through his body was like a beefsteak. But he won't let me hold it on him. Because it burned through his flesh. It burned through his flesh. I got the pictures. I can show you. Then I started getting phone calls from prisoners down there, letters and everything. The people calling me.
Fair use, YouTube. Fair use.
Telling me how they did him. And I care for him, but I love him. They didn't have a sheet came. And they sent his body back. No body bag and just one sheet. And the car. Now that's Larry. That's him. That's how he should have looked. He was not embalmed or nothing. They just tied him together.
Now, when you really look, now, I want y'all to really think about this. This sounds like a horror movie. Sounds like some kind of satanic, sadomasochistic. When you think about when black men were lynched and when they had postcards passed around, all because they might have owned land or had some consensual sex with some slutty white woman. They used to do stuff like this to our folks. This is what they used to do. And when now this is a prison. This is supposed to be law enforcement. This is supposed to be a professional environment. This isn't back in the 70s. This ain't in the 80s. This thing was created in 1999. So you have a wrong turn, hills have eyes, good old boy. There's no way that you can operate like this under the nose of the Virginia Correctional Facility. There's no possible way that you could operate like this without people knowing and there being abuses.
And the Undertaker, he cut the thing, he fell apart. And they just stuck everything back in. Ribcage, all that, they just stuck all that back in. It should have been like that, you know. So even the pictures alone will show you that they don't care about you. They don't care. It's the last one.
And as a family, you have to relive this.
Prisons are a unique entity. They are a paramilitary organization with a very strict code of silence and a very...
He said they are a paramilitary operation with a strict code of silence. That's probably one of the best, besides me coining that industrial complex, that's probably one of the best analogies of the prison in the United States of America. This is yet another reason why when the people talk slick about the descendants of slaves, these are the kind of conditions that our folks are in. Whether you're innocent or not, even in death, there's medical apartheid.
strict code of loyalty. And guards are gonna lie, and they do lie, and their supervisors lie, and the administrators lie. The entire state of Virginia put up a wall and said, you know, if you want something from us, come and get it, because we ain't giving you anything. We're not gonna give you dirt unless you make us, unless you come down here with a court order and make us. These cases are intensely fought because the guards have every incentive in the world to cover up when they do something wrong.
And political lives are at stake. And to an administration that
So I'm going to go as far as to say that you have a serial killer operation. You have a serial killer operation. I'll go as far as to say these folks was joking when they stuff. They're just knocking folks off.
bottom line oriented. as opposed to recognizing that prisons serve a function other than being profit centers, it was enticing for them to send it to Virginia.
I'm sitting here lying about everything, but we're in Harvard, you're lying. It's on my mind every night. Think about it.
We allege and demonstrate that they were deliberately indifferent to David's situation. If they didn't show that deliberate indifference, if they didn't send him to Wallens Ridge, David would be alive today. In fact, he'd be out by now, he'd be home with his family.
I'm not gonna quit. Say, forget about it. Gotta fight all the way. Gotta fight the streets, right? I'm not gonna give up.
Many people.
Now I'm not sure where this is. I actually like some of these old documentaries with the lo-fi, grainy cinematography. I actually like watching these. Get to see where the world. You really get to see where the world was before you had the Hellcat booty hole brown. You know what I'm saying? Before you had them pushing this garbage to our children, telling them that they need to learn how to put a rubber on rather than learn algebra and calculus. You know, during that time, things were, they were just different.
Discouraged when we first started fighting, and they said, nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to waste my time fighting, but we were determined. We had just made it to a meeting up in Harvard. We were going around introducing ourselves, and they announced that David Tracy died. I didn't know who he was. I was like sick. That just fired us up once we got past the shock that, yeah, we really got to get them out of here. And when another person died, it was like, you know, when are they going to get the message what's going on here? How many people have to die before they bring these guys out of Virginia? Just crazy drug war. I don't know when it's going to end. I mean, we have generations of people in jail for drug charges. Generations.
If people like us don't get out there and really rally against this thing and try to wake up the people in the neighborhood and tell all these people in the neighborhood, it's just my child, it might be yours tomorrow. So
now, again, that's why I bring this up. There's a reason why I bring this up is for all these Negroes and, well, you know, they committed the crime. If your black ass would have got pulled over in Virginia and you were, and they said you did something and they sent you up to Wallens Ridge, you wouldn't be supporting the 94 crime bill. The 94 crime bill is part of the nucleus that kind of steamrolled these situations like Wallens Ridge. You have a Wallens Ridge partly because you have a 94 crime bill. My statement still stands for all the Sambo niggas in the back. Crime was going down during when they were trying to implement and push the 94 crime bill and open up all these jails and these prisons. In this documentary, the warden or the guy that was head of the Department of Corrections, he said they didn't have enough crime going on. They needed to find more prisoners. It wasn't enough crime. There wasn't enough crime.
get out there and help us out.
The incarceration rate within our country is an all-time high. Over 2 million individuals are incarcerated. Today, the integrity of the system remains intact, and the pressures we face today are the result of deliberate, progressive steps taken to hold criminals more accountable for the consequences of their actions, restoring a back-to-basics philosophy within the system. As you may recall, in the late 1980s and early 1990s...
But none of these wardens and these folks, these white men with ties, these bird-beaked white supremacists with ties, nobody is really putting them in Wallens Ridge for their federal and state kickbacks. There's all kinds of situations where these wardens be taking money and everything. There was something in Louisiana where this dude got caught with $400 million. I mean, man, it's just all kinds of just illegal corruption going on. Corruption and money just goes hand in hand when it comes to these kind of things.
We were faced with similar offender population management issues within the system that resulted in a host of problems that ultimately required a tremendous expenditure.
That's a lot of money. 480 inmates to Wallens Ridge. That's a lot.
Taxpayer dollars to resolve.
Just quickly, as you recall, Commissioner, Representative Lawler and I were so concerned about the transfer of prisoners to Virginia that we went out there with you to inspect it. Why is it nobody seems to be concerned about the transfer to Hawaii, and why haven't we been invited to inspect it?
If you're interested in coming with me to Hawaii when I go.
Now I understand.
Between January 1, 1991 and January 1, 2002, the incarcerated population has risen 79%. Therefore, I believe it's absolutely imperative that we pursue an increase in the out-of-state placement of offenders.
We have no other options at the moment.
It is a matter of necessity. It's not a matter of convenience. Yes, sir. I am sensitive to the issues that the families had to deal with travel. We will explore to see if Virginia is able to work with us if we did have a statutory ability to go further with the numbers.
In other words, there's no contract already signed with the contingency that this legislation passed or anything like that?
No, that's correct. This bill would authorize the Department of Correction to...
Now, this is in 2002. Keep in mind, y'all, this prison opened up in 1999. Now, this is in 2002. So after the towers fell, literally, at high school in 2001. So this was a year after.
Increase our statutory authority to place inmates out of state from 500 to 1,000.
It is horrendous what is happening with our criminal justice system. They're trying to turn us from being cold dependent to be prison dependent. And Miss Tracy, I love you, and I just want to give you a big hug.
This is why there's so much slavery. You know, COs come to your cell 2 o'clock in the morning. You look up, there's 5 big burly guards at the door saying, get on your hands and knees. You're going to Virginia and shackle your hands and feet, and if you fight with a whole tie, that sounds like slavery. That's how they came about slavery, you know what I mean?
When you go from one plantation to another, they're lying.
So you're sitting up there in your cell, and they're like, okay, Virginia's getting paid for this. They're getting paid for this. Here.
In Virginia today. Aren't you excited? Yeah, I came from the mountain. I'm not going to be there. You know the reason why? Our slogan is, if our foundation, we will not be silent anymore. Right.
Not being able to hold your baby is a punishment. When you're talking to your wife on the phone and she needs you and you can't be there, that's a punishment. When they call you in that office, lieutenant's office, and tell you that your mother just died, that's a punishment. And you can't be there, that's a punishment. They don't need to be beaten. They don't need to be called niggers. They don't need to be called, the whites that stand with the blacks don't need to be called nigger lovers. And this is not the mentality of a few guards. This is the mentality of some of the people in our government. This is the war on the poor. This is the war on the inner city youth. What's going on in that prison is human torture. Not black torture, not white torture. It's human torture. And we should be sick and tired of it.
Hold on one second, brother. Wait a minute. He said, well, it's not black talk. See? It's not white torture. It's not black. It's folks that's being tortured up in there. You know what I'm saying? It's mostly niggas being tortured up in there. Let's not do this. I get it. I understand where the brother's coming from. But see, we start going a little all lives matter now. This white dude that they did this to, you know, I'm not exactly sure how much rallying they got behind this. I really don't know too much about how much they really got boots on the ground when it came to this Wallens Ridge thing, because it really sounds like Virginia shut a lot of stuff down. It sounds like they had this under lock and key. I mean, like I say, Virginia got all them prisons out there. They got the military out there. I mean, they really got a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of money going over there. A lot of money going on in Virginia. And yeah, the brother was, and like I said, this was earlier on. This was before we had a new black media or anything. This was around the time where the Sambo, Bootlick, Tom Joyner class, the NAACP, fried chicken, and collard green ass niggas kind of ran the show. You know, so I'm not gonna say that this brother's cooning. I'm definitely not gonna say that. You know, but yeah, mostly black folks was tortured. It's mostly black torture going on up in there. It ain't really a lot of white inmates.
Get tired of it. No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! What do we want? Justice! What do we want? Justice! What do we want? Justice! What do we want?
Over and over again, I hear the pain-filled stories of the officers themselves as they share the devastating effects that working in prison has on them and their families. The whole system is evil.
So it says, under pressure from families, Connecticut removed its prisoners from Virginia in 2004. Okay.
What real difference has it made in the economy here? If you look around the county, look at the little towns, there's not a great deal of evident change at all.
Yeah, so it's not like they done. It's not like they made a Mall of America out there. They're saying it's $24,000. When you know, no disrespect to the good, hardworking people that's in that town that ain't white supremacists. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to them. But the thing is, man, nothing happened in that town. I get zoomed in and I just showed y'all, man. They got, what you gonna get, some Colonel chicken? You got fried chicken? Fried chicken and some coleslaw? I didn't really see any commerce. I didn't see nothing popping where you're like, man, let's go to Big Stone Gap. Let's go check that out. Ain't nobody really trying to go through there like that.
Election around here is pretty.
You got a better chance of resurrecting Flint, Michigan, and Gary, Indiana, and making that a world-class tourist deal before people trying to break their neck to come way out here in the mountains.
Crappy, so anywhere you can get a job around here is pretty much what you take. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
Just talk to all the people cause trouble.
Yeah, handling the tough guys, you know. They're not tough.
I've heard it was, easy. Yeah, pretty easy. Well, not easy, but.
Well, there's not much opportunity for a young person around here. Anybody that's 18, 19, 20, I mean, what do you have? Walmart, fast food? Brother worked there as a guard for about 2 years. He said it was corrupt. And it went against his religious beliefs to continue working there, so he quit.
The prison business has been a big boom to our economy in Southwest Virginia. You have Wallens Ridge, you have one in Grundy, one in Pound, and now you have a federal 20 miles from here.
Now the one in Pound, I believe that was Red Onion. That's another Supermax. So they're putting them in these places that it's going to make the community better. And the guards are from the community. The guards are the ones that is running stuff. If you go see a doctor, he's probably going to be from this community. As you can see, they're very stellar and very upstanding doctors. They like to do autopsies where they don't sew the body back up and they wrap them in sheets as opposed to a body bag from this community.
Give me the prison. It's going to be here tomorrow, I think. If everybody, gets on the good side, then I don't know what we're doing. But I think they're kind of like the poor. They will always be with us, as the Bible says. I think they'll always be criminals because there's always somebody doing something wrong.
We went to Wallens Ridge already. These are the people that went to Red Onion.
Oh, you went to Red Onion?
Yes. Some family. I've been coming here every month for 2 years.
For 2 years, you have so many from Connecticut that would come back.
Right.
Yeah, early on.
Even though they're being sent 8 hours straight, the families, they're going to still come out.
Now remember, y'all, the same sentiments that gentleman that you just seemed like much of a gentle guy, but anyway, the same sentiments that gentleman said just a few minutes ago. Well, there'll always be criminals, and he's hoping this thing stay this way, right? So he applauded that. He wanted that, and I said, "Who does this sound like?" This was developed in 1999. This reminds you of Crime Bill Joe. Now, for all the Biden sexuals, the Biden butt-kissing ass niggas, well, the crime bill didn't have nothing to do with this, and, they all need to go to jail. They did the crime. For all you banjo-playing, chicken finger-eating ass niggas that would say that, if you look at this guy's policies, very conservative, right? But if you look at the crime bill, the same thing. So when black folks get shamed for all these democratic policies and this, that, and the third, man, the 94 crime bill, the 86 crime bills, all of that stuff, it's all wrapped up under the same bird. Nine times out of 10, that man that was spoken, I bet you that man has conservative views. If you sat down in that man's home and you had some mashed potatoes, gravy, and some walleye, 9 times out of 10, he gonna tell you Second Amendment rights, God first, conservative views, pro-life. 9 times out of 10, if you were talking to these people in this community, like the guy said, I couldn't stay and work at this prison. It's against my religious views, because he knew what was going on up in there. He said, man, I can't be a part of this.
Yeah.
To build prisons, to make money. They clearly have stated that there's none to fill this prison. Yet and still, you want to fill them up anyway for profit. How is that any different than the 94 crime bill, which incentivized the states and crime was going down? Because let's be very clear, when people say, well, they committed the crime, they do the time. Okay, all right, fine. Let's just go with that. Does that apply to race soldiers? Does that apply to race soldiers? Does that apply to white men that commit the same crimes, if not worse? That's the question at hand.
Oh, it's a long trip. It's like the end of the world.
At the Red Onion and Wallens. Virginia's worst. Supermax. By design. Intentional. No, make no mistake about it. It mean to be the worst place. Prison. That's designed to torture, to degrade you. Man, it's meant to break down your mental and physical, psychological. These guys that had problems got worse problems when they come to this system and they say, give them time. Time to do what? Time to die. This is a slow, gradual death. And once the guys realize this is when they give up hope. Jesus was one of them greatest rehabilitators, they say. He could change people's way of thinking. But if Jesus was to be rise up in Virginia's prison, he'd be on 5 points. In all his holiness, he'd be on 5 points. They spit on him. They put a crown of thorns on his head in Virginia's prison.
Now, nobody was arrested, so they got $1.1 million, 1.1 million funky dollars The state of Connecticut settled with the dollars and with the Tracy family $750,000. That was crumbs. And nobody was arrested, probably. Nobody got indicted. I bet nobody got indicted. To date, neither family has received the entire settlement. See, that was all them appeals they were probably getting. The U.S. Justice Department hired Connecticut Commissioner as Assistant Director of Operations of American Prisons in Iraq. Wow. Now they do other work, these folks that you see here. So Apple Shop, let's do a little quick analysis of Apple Shop. Apple Shop is called Up the Ridge. So you can purchase this. Now look at this here. Somebody made a review. It says the use from the New York Times, the use of American correction executives with abuse accusations in their past to oversee American-run prisons in Iraq is prompting concerns in Congress. Mr. Armstrong, Assistant Director of Operations in American Prisons in Iraq, resigned last year after Connecticut settled lawsuits with the families of 2 Connecticut inmates who died after being sent to Wallens Ridge, a supermax in Virginia. Here's an author by the name of Joseph Halliman. When I visited Wallens Ridge in the spring of '99, it was new and as yet unoccupied. It felt like a house. He said it felt like a house on moving day. It felt like a house on moving day, all echoes and loneliness. What I found there was a perfectly evolved American prison. It was both lavishly expensive and needlessly remote. Built not because it was needed, but because it was wanted by politicians who thought it would bring them votes. So here's the description I'm gonna give you guys. I'm gonna upload this as analysis, fair use, YouTube, fair use. Apple Shop's radio station, WMMT 88.7 FM, has operated the only hip-hop program in Whitesburg, Kentucky since the 90s. In 99, volunteer DJs Nick Soberla and Amelia Kirby received hundreds of letters from inmates transferred into nearby Wallens Ridge, the region's newest prison built to prop up the shrinking coal economy. So that gives you a little bit more understanding as to how this came about. This was an amazing documentary that they did. Incredible. They should have showed this. This should have been shown in every college and every school across the United States of America, so people know what's going on. And shout out to G Street News Network, because that brother is doing God's work, exposing what's going on. Because some people say, "Well, hey man, that's violent. We shouldn't be talking about this." No, if somebody's doing something that's bogus, we need to know about it. Because if there's something going on up in that institution and it's not supposed to happen, if you ain't proud about it, you shouldn't do it, right? But they don't want people to know. So these guys probably were sending letters talking about what was happening to them early on. They said they received hundreds of letters from inmates transferred in a nearby Wallens Ridge. So, they said they were a volunteer. They said in 99, they received hundreds of letters. So maybe, I don't know how they went about, maybe they found out about the place and get sent the letters or whatnot, the nonprofit that they run. And it says the letters describe human rights violations and racial tension between staff and inmates. Then the two began filming that year, and through the lens of Wallens Ridge State Prison captured an in-depth look at the United States prison industry and the social impact of moving hundreds of thousands of people of color, black folks, from cities to distant rural outposts. Up the Ridge explores compelling political agendas that align government policy with human rights violations. So underline that word, policy, not just law. This is a law is just a law until it's enforced. No, policy is enforced. What's going on up there is enforced. All that money, that conference that y'all seen, that's policy. Which means this is the law of the land. This is what we do. This is the culture, and this is what we do. Not just what we say, this is what we do. The film will be of interest to anyone interested in criminal justice reform, as well as to listeners of WMMT's ongoing Monday night show, Calls from Home. So they said what we do. So they do film, radio, theater. They got a record label. Looks like they got an annual report. So this website is from 2019. So this got to be a nonprofit. It has to be a nonprofit. So this is everybody that runs it, it looks like. And of course, they got a possum. That looks like that could be Wallens Ridge or someplace. So I guess it's in Appalachia, if I'm saying that correctly. We're thrilled to have unveiled the largest net meter renewable energy system in eastern Kentucky. So they're going solar. Well, they fighting the good fight. It looks like they fighting the good fight. So there you guys go. There you guys go. Before we leave, this is something that I wanted to show you. The Interfaith Action for Human Rights, they're talking about the abuses. This is from 2020. Now, this guy right here, that they're still talking about human rights abuses up there. This is 2020. Malta extremely concerned about multiple reports of beatings and harassment of inmates. We were told that allegations will be investigated, but neither we nor prisoners themselves nor their families are ever provided with any information that indicates a serious, thorough, and impartial investigation that has been conducted. The prisoners and their families received nothing. Virtually all of these men and many others report interference with their ability to use the complaint and grievance procedure to address the abuses they allege. So now, as I told you, they're messing with the mail. Messing with the mayor, the mail. It's a violation of federal mail. Jerry Harper reported being subjected to prolonged harassment and physical and sexual assault by staff because he's a Caucasian Muslim. Documents showed that he was given a disciplinary charge for harming himself after attempting to hang himself. Here's another inmate. Long-term segregation when recently transferred from Wallens Ridge to Red Onion. Severely beaten by guards severely beaten by guards at Wallens Ridge and during an earlier period of Red Onion. He was beaten with belts, mace, needing a growing punch, called racial epithets, and the guards spit in his food. That's another thing that I thought about earlier. Like, okay, they definitely gonna do that. Tormented with an electrical belt during his transfer from Red Onion to Wallens Ridge. Deprived of a mattress for 2 days after arriving at Wallens Ridge. No change of clothes for weeks. Deprived of a shower for 41 days. Empty milk trays put through his slot. Despite repeated requests, he has been given no ICA documents related to decisions made about his housing status. He has been in restrictive housing since January of this year. Given no information about the possibility of transitioning the general population. Upon his recent transfer to Red Onion, his family reports that he was placed back in the same unit with the officers who had beaten him before, and he was beaten again. So they sent him back to Red Onion. They keeping him up in the mountains. Now, how far is Red Onion from Wallens Ridge? Oh, they're right next door. You see where they put them. Literally 33 miles. You can drive right up the street. It's about a half hour away. In the middle of nowhere. Here's another guy, Devon Banks. This brother has lack of access to recreation. He was beaten by officers while cuffed and shackled, placed in isolation, no medical attention, deprived of his meals. Then they released him to general population, and it says his loved ones report that he has had money removed from his personal account, including $30 for a commissary purchase that he never made and never received. Another dude says he was beaten on camera, sexually assaulted, starved by staff. His hand was broken. There was a nurse that didn't want to intervene, deprived of medical attention for 3 days. Then they came in his cell with a shock shield and maced him. Then he said he was being threatened by officers since then and accuses officers of planting knives in his cell. And then they put him in segregation. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Deputy is Director of Corrections. All these folks right here, Wallens Ridge Ward, and all these, yeah, and I bet they ignore every call. This is still going on, y'all. This is still going on. I'm going to go ahead and wrap all this up. I'm going to get this uploaded to YouTube. I hope y'all enjoy it. And we going to keep it going. Probably be doing another podcast pretty soon here. Y'all take care.